What is up everybody? Welcome back to another short informative video. This morning I woke up and I thought to myself, what video can I make today that's going to help people in the off season? And the first thing that came to mind was fitness. Fitness over the off season is important, but there's so many different ways of getting yourself fit for the pre-season after Christmas. So the championship and the league campaigns are now coming to an end, and a lot of us, maybe too many of us, will probably do nothing for the months of October, November, December, come back after Christmas feeling very unfit and then feeling as if they're a little bit behind in terms of the fitness. So today I'm going to make a short video on what you can do just twice a week in the months of October, November, December and January before starting up with your team again then after Christmas in, let's say, February. Now there is lots of different ways how you can keep your fitness up. There is lots of different ways how you can get yourself in good shape for the pre-season. Maybe you feel as if you had a poor year this year and you feel as if you really need to make the commitment and get yourself in great shape so you can put your stamp on the starting team maybe for the next year's league. And this is just an example. There is many others, but this is just one. So I made a short video before on mass run, which is basically maximal aerobic speed, and that's tend to be done in the off season because it's so taxing on the body. We don't really do it in season because again it's taxing on the body and your main focus is playing the sport, which is GAA. So as a player or as a coach, if you're coaching some of your players, what I would get you to do is do a 5-minute test, and the goal of the 5-minute test is to see what distance you can cover in 5 minutes. So if you take a standard GAA pitch, all GAA pitches are going to be different. So I would measure out as best you can, or as accurate as you can, the width and the length of your pitch and see how many laps you can do in 5 minutes. Now you could do this on the road, but generally speaking I like to try and keep the players on the grass, on the playing surface that they're going to be playing on in the in-season. So I would get them to do the laps of the pitch, and then you would write down exactly what the player did. So let's give an example. You did your 5-minute test and you covered 1.2 kilometers. Now usually you might do a lot more, you might do maybe less if you're really unfit, but just for sake, let's just go 1200 meters. Now the next thing you would do is you would divide the 1200 meters by your 300 seconds, which is 5 minutes, and that will give you 4 meters per second. And this equals your mass. Alright, so your mass is 4 meters per second, and this is a test that you might do in the next few weeks. And when you find out your mass, then you can go ahead and plan out your first month of running. So now that we know that your mass equals 4 meters per second, we could map out October, for example, the run that we're going to do in October. First of all, mass run is taxing on the body. It's very tough. You're going to have low recovery the next day after doing it. So I would recommend doing it no more than twice per week. So let's just talk about October, for example. In October, if you're doing it twice a week, you're going to be doing 8 runs. Alright, so 8 runs in October, and then you would follow the next month and do 8 runs in November, 8 runs in January, and then that will allow you to get back into pre-season maybe in January or February, okay? So where do we start off? If your mass is 4 meters per second, we want to find out for the month of October, you're going to be running at 110%. So I would multiply 110% by this, which gives you 4.4 meters per second. So that's going to be for October's run. Now when you go into November, it's going to be 120%, and then when you go into December, it's going to be 130%. So let's do 110% for October first. So 4.4 meters per second. So what we want to do is we want to run probably 15 seconds on, 15 seconds off, okay? Mass run is always a ratio of 1 to 1. So if you're running for 20 seconds, you're taking a recovery of 20 seconds. If you're running for 10, the recovery is 10. So let's just do 15, okay? 15 on, 15 off. Now what distance do we cover in the 15 seconds on? Well, what you want to do is you want to get 4.4 multiplied by 15, which gives you 66 meters. Okay, so now we know the distance that we need to cover in October is going to be 66 meters. And what time do we have to do it in? We have to do it in 15 seconds, and we have to rest 15 seconds. Now how many of these will you do? You would do this between 8 to 10 times, which is going to equal to 1 set. And you would do 2 to 4 sets. Ideally, you want to be doing 3-4 sets. I would always go for 4 sets, especially if you're only doing it twice a week. You try to get that amount of volume in. So 4 sets, okay? 8 to 10 times. Let's say you do 8 runs, okay? Then that, if you're going to go 10 times, just do 3 sets. And that will give you your 1 days of running, which is going to be 66 meters. So you're going to do that 8 times in the month of October, and then you move on to November. But first of all, I'm going to show you how you would map it out on the GAA pitch and how you would do the run. So what you want to do is you want to measure out cones, for example, okay, on the end line, alright? So let's say you're up here and you're measuring out your cones, okay? You're starting here on the end line. Now this is 13, this is 20, this is 45, and this is probably in around 70, okay? So we'll just take this line as 66, okay? So we would go here, put your cones out here and here. So you're starting here. So for you to travel 66 meters, okay, it's going to take 15 seconds. So 66 meters here, 15 seconds, 15 seconds recovery. Okay? So if you run from the end line to 66 meters, that's 1 run, take a 15 seconds recovery, run back, that's 2 runs, you're going to go for 8 runs, for example, and that's 1 set, and you would do 4 sets. Now, how much rest between sets? 2 minutes. Okay? So you would do your 1 set, rest 2 minutes, complete it again, and so on until you do your 4 sets. Now, that is the month of October. Now what we need to do then is we need to try and, your body's going to adapt to the stress that you're putting it under for October, and then you need to move it on to November. So what we do then is in November, we still know what our mass is, which is 4 meters per second, because we did the test, right? So we did the test, that's what we got. Now we need to go 120% for November to step it up a notch. Now when we do this, we know that the answer is going to be 4.8 meters per second, and then we multiply this by 15 to calculate our new distance that we need to be covering. So when we multiply 4.8 by 15, that gives us 72 meters. So now all you're doing is you're taking this out to about 72 meters, okay, and you're covering that extra 6 meters, okay. So you're working at 120%. And then what you would do then is you would move into December at 130%, which is going to give you 5.2 meters per second, and you multiply that by 15 meters. When you multiply 5.2 by 15, it gives you 78 meters. So you're actually going over the halfway line. So you're going to about here, okay? So as you can see, the progress starting on October, end line to 66, November, end line to halfway line, and then December is probably going to be just past the halfway line, even before just before the opposite 45 meter line. Now, would we go up to 140%? No, because more than likely you're not going to be able to achieve that in 15 seconds, okay? So we usually stick at 130%. You could try 140%, and if you can get yourself up to 140%, you are in top condition for the pre-season. But what I would do, or as I would coach, is I would get my clients or my players or myself to, just before Christmas, do the 5-minute test again. And you should definitely blow the previous score out of the water. And then you would start back again. So let's say, for example, you do the 5-minute test and you cover 1,600 meters. Okay, so let's say you covered 1,600 meters this time. Find your mass. So you divide the 1,600 by your 300 seconds. Okay, which is going to be it's going to be 5 meters per second. Okay. It's actually going to be 0.3 meters per second, and then you work off the same calculations, okay? So then you would go 110% of your new score in January, and then in February you go 120%, and then you're obviously going to be doing fantastic distances for the amount of time, and that's how I would program myself or program a client or my players if I was going in with the team. Now that might seem complicated because there's a lot of maths involved, but it's quite easy when you break it down. It's really all about doing the test at the start, the 5-minute test to see where you're at, and then do your calculations from there, and then do about 8 runs every single month. Obviously December is going to be a little bit less because of Christmas and stuff, so you might only get 6 runs in there, but then you would try and do January to finish off your December, and then do the 5-minute test again, and so on and so on. There's loads of different ways to get in shape, but I think this way is so much more beneficial than just doing 5Ks, 10Ks, which I see all the time, a lot of players making that mistake, and especially doing it on the road where they're going to mess up their joints and have lower back issues, shin splints. Not doing it on the pitch means you're not really going to be used to doing it on the pitch, especially when you go back to the pre-season, the heavy ground and stuff. So keep it on the playing surface that you're going to be playing on. Hope this helped. Very, very basic discussion on mass running, how you can do it between October to January. There is a quick turnaround, I think. I think time's going very quick at the moment. I think the off season is going to be very short. So just be ready then for hopefully a good full season next year that we can all look forward to. Thank you. Hope this helps.